Hi there. So, this may be an unpopular opinion by someone no one gives a crap about, but I kind of want to take a second to talk about the new Gibson Modern Flying V. And I kind of want to say that I don't hate it. I think it's a really cool guitar, but there's a couple issues with it. And all of those issues start with the price. Now, recently, uh, it looks like there's been a little bit of criticism about it, um, that it's a rather ugly looking guitar. But here's the thing, Gibson doing any kind of new body shape like this is actually pretty cool. I do think it's really interesting. Um, an odd little take on the Flying V. It looks a little bit like a can opener. But here's the thing, somebody was inspired by that body shape and saw some potential in it. And here's kind of what I mean. So, let's take this gorgeous little guitar right here, the Ibanez RG DIX. So, or RG DIX, if you so choose. So this guitar on Amazon's, not Amazon's, but Ibanez's website, markets this as a metal guitar. That, it's a shredder's guitar, good for down tuning, 26.5-inch scale length, so really nice and taut for lower tunings, and actually tunings like drop D feel great on this guitar. And I actually want to take some time to do a almost video essay of this guitar. But here's how I view this guitar. Yes, you can play some metal on here, but this guitar aesthetically wouldn't be too out of place at a jazz show, with a little bit of classic rock, more instrumentally less metal sounding music. Think like Pliny and groups like that, and Sean. I wouldn't strictly say this is a metal shred guitar. When I pick this guitar up, what do I go to? I mean, it's always fun to just go into some chugging riffs and things like that. But at the same time, like nice clean passages, things like that, fit very well within the context of this guitar. And similarly, when I look at the Modern Flying V, I have ideas of what I would play on that kind of guitar. I would probably play the same kind of things that, I might on here. Something that isn't exactly metal, something that's maybe a bit more fusion oriented, something that's a little bit more instrumentally based, something a little bit more eclectic, something a little bit more avant garde. And what you have to think about is, when the Flying V first came out, it was paired alongside it was the Flying V, the Explorer, and the Modern, which incidentally the Modern Flying V seems to take great resemblance to. And those were eccentric guitars. I mean, when those guitars came out, heavy metal was not a thing. People didn't pick up the Flying V and then break out into some Raining Blood, nor did someone pick up the Explorer and break out into some Thunder Horse or something like that. No. They were eccentric designs that over time, as we look at that, we say that was a cool design, because now you have brands like Jackson, you have ESP, you have, of course, Gibson, with their Flying Vs, and you associate them with metal, Judas Priest, with the Flying Vs, Kirk Hammett with the Flying Vs. But, it took time for that kind of mindset to develop. And over the years, different styles of offset guitars, Fender with their Jaguar and their Mustang, and then the Firebird and Reverse Firebird, those kinds of guitars, they have this, initially they were a little odd, and then they sort of picked up over time, almost kind of this hipster sort of appreciation for it. And as someone who plays a lot of guitar and has a fair number of guitars, I like to say that it's always good to look at new ideas. For example, the headless guitars from Kiesel and Strandberg, the more ergonomic body shapes, Tosin Abasi's guitar as well. Those are certainly unusual by traditional standards, but at the same time, they're really interesting. And yes, you can see someone on a broomstick guitar playing, you know, Slayer or some Dying Fetus or anything like that. But then you'll also see him do these really nice, clean, pretty instrumental passages. And, you know, of course, I go back to Pliny and Strandberg guitars. So just because something is said to go in a particular manner doesn't mean it's strictly going to be used in that context. Now, that said, I don't see anybody with this, you know, modern Flying V breaking out into some country music. But, I mean, that gold one, that gold modern Flying V, I'm sure you could bust out a little bit of little Chet Atkins, a little, who else is there? A little Paisley. I'm sure you could do something like that. What's odd is that Gibson is saying that this is a, you know, sci-fi shredder kind of guitar. Certainly a little sci-fi. Here's the thing. Marketed as a, you know, sci-fi shredder kind of guitar, but look at like the sci-fi movies from the 60s and 70s, that odd kind of aesthetic. That guitar, the guitar kind of works within that context as this kind of sci-fi guitar. And really, I think it's really cool. I would love to have one of those guitars because I could write some pretty nice stuff on that. I'd be inspired to try different things on that. Thinking about it makes me want to try things on my guitars, but the feeling won't quite be the same without having like the actual one with you. Now, the big thing that everyone's cheesed off about is that price tag, $4,500 for that kind of guitar. That guitar is not worth $4,500. That guitar is not worth $3,500. That guitar is worth, at most, $2,500. And here's the thing, Gibson is not a boutique guitar manufacturer. Despite their price range, they are not. Their current pricing right now, in my opinion, has come from them being very full of the brand. You know, the brand is selling the guitar. Because I've looked at Gibson, not Gibson, but Epiphone Prophecy guitars. I've looked at Ibanez guitars, the RG DIX, right here. Different kinds of ESP guitars, other brands, Fender, that build quality is superb. The materials, the look, the sound of the guitars is phenomenal. And they are priced well below that threshold. This guitar right here, I mean, $700, but I got an open box one for just shy of $650. Beautiful sound, it looks beautiful, it's very clean, and if you didn't tell me how much that cost, I'd tell you that's a $1,200 guitar or something like that. Cheaper guitars I don't think they've been as good as they are right now as they have in the past. Ibanez, their lower tiered ranges, their $350 ranges, their $400 ranges are great guitars. Epiphone, those guitars have gotten surprisingly good. And what's funny is I look at the Gibson ML whatever for $400, and they're putting the full fat Gibson name on there, and really all it makes me think about is Maestro by Gibson. And if you know what Maestro by Gibson is, congratulations. But Gibson is not a boutique manufacturer. Fender is not a boutique manufacturer. Ibanez, ESP, Schecter. And I would say to an extent, PRS is not a boutique manufacturer, but they definitely have a very strong upper range that leads them more to that. I wouldn't call them semi-custom because I don't fully know the customizability of those guitars, but definitely up there. When I think boutique style, I think closer to Mayonnaise, to Skervison, Black Machine. Although Black Machine is kind of odd because I think one guitar every 10 years does not warrant a $10,000 plus price tag. Build quality can be one thing, rarity can be another, but I really don't understand that, especially considering the other options. Daemoness guitars, really cool guitars by the way. I would consider those boutique manufacturers because, you know, handcrafted, great materials, great build quality, definitely a degree of customizability on there. Those guitars warrant the high price tags, and here's the thing: Skervison guitars, £1,600 plus, 2,200 pound plus guitars, Ibanez, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 guitars, but the quality behind them, definitely expensive guitars, but you know what you're getting. You're getting a damn good guitar. PRS, their wood library guitars, their S2s, things like that. Definitely quality instruments that are worth the money you're paying for it, with the exception of, you know, the $12,000 everything on there. That gets a little ridiculous. But Gibson does not fall into that category. Now, a couple years ago, when they had their studio models that were down at the $1,200, $1,400 range, I mean, it wasn't the classic slash Les Paul traditional whatever, but it was still a full fat Gibson, and quality was quite good. Epiphone kind of sucked, and then gradually got a ways better, where there were signature guitars within that range, like the Matt Heafy signature guitar, which I've had the joy of playing and bought for my brother. It's a damn good guitar. I would put that up against, you know, any guitar, and it would definitely hold its own. A little unsure about the scale length though, because I put it in drop A, and I don't know, that A got a little flobby for my taste. I definitely like a nice tighter sound. But the Modern Flying V, and definitely some of the other Gibson guitars, the other Les Pauls that are quite a ways more expensive, in my opinion, they're not worth it. You're buying a brand name, and you can do so much better with so much less, or for so much less. So the Gibson Modern Flying V is a very cool guitar. I would love to have one, but I'll buy one when the Epiphone model comes out, because that'll likely be quite a bit more reasonably priced. And here's the thing. Again, I'm weird. I like the body shape, but why was this not an Epiphone model? You know, because you had the Matt Heafy signature, you had the Jeff Waters, and some of the other styles under the Epiphone name, but why was the Modern Flying V not done under that label as well? Epiphone seems to be a bit more relaxed with different styles of guitar, with different, you know, loadouts, different tops, colors, things like that. I go back again to the Prophecy models. I'm not sure why this was flown under the Gibson flag, because this guitar is not worth $4,500. At most, I would pay $2,500, and that's it. So when the Epiphone model comes out, and I really hope an Epiphone model does come out, I'll pick that up, and then I'll throw in some DiMarzio illuminators, something like that, and then I will just get my progressive instrumental fusion playing down, and that'll be a blast. But in short, I don't hate the guitar. I hate the price. I hate the, I kind of hate the marketing behind it a little bit. But that's where I stand on that. Unpopular opinion, long-winded, definitely I'm not important, and my opinion doesn't matter. But wanted to get it out there. So, thank you very much. Bye-bye.